So next on our list, then, just kind of going down by popularity, is Journal with Witch. I f***ing hated this show.
Oh, it was fucking terrible.
This is probably one of the most boring anime I've seen in years.
Someone has already clicked off because they thought we actually had the show.
If they get a little sarcastic, they can go f*** themselves.
You might have liked this more than me because you put it in your favorites.
Yeah, this is like my new anime of the decade.
That's crazy.
Kinda, yeah.
Not super crazy, but it's kind of crazy.
It's kind of. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Is in some ways, I feel like going into something with no expectations, basically completely blind, being like, all right, what's this thing, and then having it like you like something that much after going into it completely blind. Like it's one thing like when we watched Pluto, we went into Pluto being like, I have a pretty strong anticipation that this will be very, very good. I went to basically with none of that. And in some ways, I feel like that's a more rewarding feeling than going into something that you very much expected to be very good, and it is very good.
I think it's just generally rewarding to find something that's really, really good.
Yes. We've talked about it a little bit so far in terms of it's interesting in terms of how it deals with memory and processing memory and emotions in a very interesting way, like stylistically, which the show is not exactly like a super crazy visual experience. It's very grounded. The colors are kind of muted, so it's not you're not exactly watching it as like a Sakuga fest, but it is very consistent looking and very consistently well directed, but not necessarily in a super flashy way.
Where it lacks in Sakuga, it makes up in visual technique.
Yeah,
because a lot of the strengths of the visuals of this is how it incorporates like how memory kind of manifests in conversation or in your daily life, and how it's different for other people. With Asa, there's a lot of imagery of her like being in this desert because she feels very alone, aimless, and no real way to like find her bearings or whatever. With Makio, her aunt, it's less about like the strong visuals, and it's more about how these memories kind of like creep up in her everyday life. So like she is talking to someone about somebody else, that person is like in the background acting as like that kind of trigger, or like her kind of recollecting that moment that she's like referring to specifically.
It's kind of hard to explain. It's easier to show.
Yeah, it's very visual.
Yeah.
It's very much part of the storytelling, the way that it incorporates the visuals of them kind of recollecting memories, or like recalling conversations, reliving past moments, and how that kind of manifests differently between each character. Because it does it for like 3 characters, I'm pretty sure, like relatively frequently. It's mainly Asa and Makio, but it does do a little bit for Makio's love interest. Yeah. And they all kind of do it differently. So it's very much about like how do you kind of get into the head of somebody else and like understand what they're going through, and like that empathy. Both like because Makio is an author, right? And that is a very large component of like her writing. They incorporate it into the show where like people are coming up to her and like, hey, what are you writing this for? Did you mean this for this character? Because that is the experience that they're getting out of her stories. They're like, how do you... Asa at one point is like, how could you write about this that resonates so deeply with me and my experience of having lost somebody when you yourself have not lost somebody? And it is just that aspect of like conveying these kind of core emotional fragments of ourselves to somebody else, and like how does somebody do that? How do you get into the head of somebody else and understand where they're coming from, what their perspective is? Yeah. And it does that very interestingly. Like the way it does it is really the large part of like why it's so good. The writing is good, don't get me wrong. It's not a matter of like the writing being weaker and it was like elevated by a direction. The writing is definitely there, it's just more subdued. And if it were a worse director, like if this were kind of more of a standard seasonal, I feel like they wouldn't shine as much as they do here. Yeah.
It's interesting too because it does stuff with like some of like the side characters that I never would have expected to get much development, like Asa, because both of her parents were killed. She has like a social worker assigned to her, and I thought that was character was just gonna kind of like show up once and then not really show up ever again. But he becomes kind of not a super prominent character, but he does get some development as well. Obviously, Makio's love interest plays a fairly prominent role in the story, and just like the whole, like the different character dynamics that everyone has. I like that, like Makio, because she is a writer, she will like kind of like express herself like and her views and ideas to Asa in a way that just kind of sounds very pretentious. And then Asa is kind of like the straight man, is just kind of like, are you even speaking Japanese right now?
Well, it's interesting because it evolves, right? Because originally she's kind of seeing them as speaking almost like a different language. Like, well, initially she's speaking to her and it's like an authority kind of thing in general. And then she sees her talking to her friend and she's like, oh, it's almost like they're speaking another language. Like, it's like I'm in a foreign land almost. And then as she grows older and kind of like the year passes, because this takes place over the course of a year. Yeah. As that year passes and she has more experience with Makio, she starts then pushing back on her. She's like, why do you use such like difficult language when you're talking all the time? You don't talk to me like a normal person.
She becomes less like it's not like Makio is basically just forming the whole of like Asa's worldview as a result. It's very much like a push and pull kind of thing, where it's also like Asa kind of becoming her own person as well, and forming her own ideas about the world. So it's not necessarily just like a one-way street kind of thing, which is really nice.
Yeah. I did really like the development of Asa's classmate that I just thought was like a throwaway character, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's tying it into the real world thing that, like, was it Tokyo University was found to be discriminating against, like, women applicants?
Yeah.
It ties into that. And I just thought she was going to be like a throwaway person or whatever, like when they first introduced her, because there's so many characters already. I'm like, there's not going to be much with her.
Yeah.
And then they even tie her perspective into everything. Where, like, even this fragment of like her experience with this one random character is also kind of building her confidence and kind of piecing together who she is as a person today. Mm-hmm. Like, there's so much of that I really loved about this show.
This isn't really a full adaptation of the manga. With that being said, it does end with a really strong sense of like finality, but at the same time, you're also not getting the sense that when you have finished the show, it's like, yes, all of these character arcs are complete, and these are now fully actualized people who will never change for the rest of their lives. But like, it doesn't feel like that, where it's like just completely final. But you do get a nice sense of conclusion with it that I quite like.
It concludes the narrative arc, but it does not make it feel like
this is the end of her life.
The story is over. Yeah. And the way it does that with like every other character, because like they're all kind of tied together.
Yeah.
Where it's like other characters are kind of building on their lives, and the way that these characters' lives intersect is like building on each other. Their arcs are ongoing, but like for narrative purposes, the arc of her, Asa specifically, kind of coming to terms with the death of her parents, you know, there's a conclusion to that aspect of it. But the way it handles it is just very, I guess the word is mature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people use that word and it sounds very pretentious to be like, this is a very mature, like I know what they mean in terms of how it discusses these these subject matters, but man, do you ever sound like a fucking asshole saying it.
Right.
I should also say that as a slice of life series, I think it does also do a very good job at having each episode kind of have like a theme to it as well. It's kind of episodic, like there is a through line, but there's also kind of like a little moral kind of like baked into every episode as well, which is really nice. Makes it a very good like just episode to episode watch as well. Especially weekly, where we're just like, all right, another great episode. I will patiently wait for the next one next week.
It's peak no notes.
Yeah, that is that will most likely be my anime of the year. I know it was funny. I said that last year during the winter season about Metalist. I remember I was like, man, if we get an anime better than Metalist this year, I'll be really happy. And then like last year, Metalist was like 4 or 5 on my list by the end of the year.
See, I don't make statements like that. I hedge my bets where I'm like, I leave it open. All right.
Movie people be like, man, this show was so great. One of my favorite anime of all time. It's a 6 out of 10. You're like, what the fuck? Man, this anime literally came out of the screen. This anime literally came out of the screen, sucked my dick off. I came like I'd never. 7 out of 10.
Listen, all right. even mid blowjobs are good, right? That's how this works.
Listen, enjoy the blowjob, but reflect on it, okay?
Reflect on it.